Voila. Voila. Me.
Yeah.
I'm back. And then hello, Tom. Well, we're back. So you may be able to, I have to point it out. I do have Dolly in the background with me, but I've also got Bev Gale with me, who's just sat here doing work. So I do share the space of working. I just have to acknowledge
that. I'm just going to tell our children to be quiet. So,
this was going to be really short and punchy. This is going to be the last part 4. And it's going to be like 3 questions. There's 3 questions to come. It's going to be really, really short and brief. And then, of course, Tom's had to disappear to go and tell children, just to be a little bit shush. And but Bev's here. So people listening with me now, podcast, will know this. Surrogate mum Bev is here. And speaking of that, look at that T-shirt, Tom. May I point out, Matt Garner sent you a lovely gift.
He did. Look at that.
Very nice. Very nice. What's it say on the back?
Really important, isn't it?
Cool down. There you go. Missing the L on cool down because the COO. Cool. Very, very clever. Geniusness. Anyway, hello. Welcome back, guys. I'm Danny Norman, athlete 482, long-time park runner. Of course, joining me is Tom Williams for the last time on this particular section of Q&As, Parkrun Global COO, or COO, as we just mentioned. Right. So are you ready for the last few questions, Tom? Let's get it done.
Yes.
Super. Right. And you know what? I will get rid of the ticker because it can be quite distracting. First up, Alna Hassam from Tailgate Parkrun. Is the use of the Parkrun app for timing compulsory? Use of the Digisport stopwatch gives the timekeeping volunteers more confidence and has proven to be very reliable. Now, this is a particular one close to my heart because I've been fighting the virtual volunteer app corner for quite some time now. So what are your thoughts on that question?
So the short answer is yes, it is compulsory. We've got 3 questions and a bit of time, so I'll go into a bit more detail here. The virtual volunteer was developed. Quite a few people developed different apps. Actually, the virtual volunteer, what became the virtual volunteer, was developed by Penny from Newey Parkrun, the event director at Newey Parkrun, and with her company Newism, who are app developers in Australia. They did an incredible job of it. And at the time, we were looking for a way forward with something like a timing and scanning app, because as we were growing really, really quickly, it was becoming increasingly expensive in terms of time and money to manage an inventory of thousands and thousands of scanners and stopwatches all around the world, and sending them out, and the cost of them, and then breaking and so on. With 2,200 or so events at the minute, if they've each got 2 stopwatches, obviously that's 4,500 stopwatches. And if they've each, on average, they've got 3 scanners, and they're £100 each, and we've got 7,000 scanners, it can get very expensive very quickly. And actually, we've managed it up to this point, but long term, when we've got 10,000 events or 15,000 events or 20,000 events, it's just not possible to support. So we developed, along with Newism, we developed the virtual volunteer. It was really successful, and we reopened Germany in 2017 now, I think, December 2017, I think. Parkrun Germany started, and that went app only. Parkrun Japan went app only. I think Finland might have gone app only. Australia then went app only. And it was just this incredible...
Germany's 3rd anniversary. Scary. Sorry, yeah. So I was there for the 2nd anniversary. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt. Time is flying. Sorry, yeah.
And so it became this incredible tool for supporting the long-term sustainability and scalability of parkrun. And it probably reduced the cost of starting an event by, especially if we went laptop free, which is what we have in loads of places. So all those places are listed. We went laptop free as well. It probably reduced the cost by up to £1,000 of starting and supporting an event. And if you're going to start, as we are, 500 events a year, £500,000 a year cost saving, when you're a charity trying to grow your platform around the world, is huge. We hadn't made it compulsory in the UK. 1,000 events in the UK with the old equipment and so on, and the old equipment works really, really well. But actually, as part of our review of the whole COVID situation, development of the COVID framework, that whole process presented a number of higher risk touch points, if you want to call it that, whether you're giving somebody the stopwatch and they're holding it and they're giving it back to you, or the same with the timers and the scanners. You've got equipment you've got to hand out, and then the transferring of the data is a bit more, well, a lot more complicated really, and requires an element of contact. And then are you gathered around the laptop and so on, processing the results. And so in all of the work we did developing the framework for COVID-19, we felt we needed to make it compulsory to mandate out, to remove all of those high risk points. And so we made it compulsory as part of the framework. We've been through, and you'll know this, Danny, having been involved. I think your first part run was in 2005, was it?
2005? August 2005, yeah.
Mm-hmm. August 2005. So you'll have seen multiple iterations of timing systems.
Yep.
Everybody always really likes the one they've got, and then they struggle with the new one, then they get used to it. And I mean, there was a point where we're using Opticon scanners as timers with no display on it. People would turn the sound off. And even then, people got really used to them and liked them, and didn't want to move. Some people didn't want to then move on to the cheaper stopwatches and so on.
Yeah. I had arguments. I remember it very, very well. I was told the barcode system would not work. Barcodes, no, wouldn't happen. Don't want it to happen. They should carry on manually entering. Of course, it's not scalable. Can't do it. Yeah, so no. I remember it all very well. Yeah.
So look, I'm sure there are plenty of volunteers who have more confidence with some of the older timekeeping systems. I absolutely promise them that if they spend the time getting used to the virtual volunteer, it is miles better, more reliable, quicker, easier. It's just much better. I mean, even here in the Williams house, where my wife's the event director of Harrogate Juniors, it probably took me 18 months of pressure to remove from the old system. And every Saturday night, as juniors, remember, every Saturday night, the kitchen table would be full of things charging and cables and equipment, and then you'd forget something and so on. And then eventually, after a period of pressure, we were able to say, actually, why don't we just try using the virtual volunteer? And then in a puff of smoke, all of that's gone. There's no charging, no cables everywhere, no devices, nothing to forget. You don't need to use the laptop because it just gets emailed, or in the new world just appears in FMS magically. Mm-hmm. So you can use your own computer to do it at your own leisure, and it was just miles better. Yeah. Stick with it, I promise you, it's miles better.
Yeah, and of course, it's fair to say I did a video. I did the how-to and show it all, and I'm a big fan. I mean, I was unsure at first as well. I haven't always been a big singer of its praises. I was a little bit unsure, but I migrated very quickly. And the sensory feedback, you can see, you can hear, you can feel, because the vibrations, and you can have the sound on and dings, as well as the visual feedback of it all. Yeah, I'm sold on it. The video telling you how to use it, the Virtual Volunteer app, is out there, and and I can totally see, because of course, like you said, you want to reduce the amount of vectors, the opportunity to pass it over, and you get that if you're keeping your own phone, and of course you can scan at a distance as well, so you don't need to be close up to people. Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you for that, Tom. Next question. Beeston Parkrun, Alison Hogg, event director. Appreciate the need for the new volunteer app. So back to the app again. But will we retain the old kit to ensure continuity of service? And or how will the old kit be recycled, reused? It seems like a lot of waste. So this question was asked by someone else as well. So of course, that means there are loads of stopwatches and scanners out there which are presently defunct. So what's to do with them?
Yes, really good question. So we wouldn't advise teams to keep the old stuff around. I think, Alison, in terms of continuity service, I'm guessing you're suggesting that if 1 week the virtual volunteer doesn't work, you could use the old equipment. I think it's a lot more reliable probably than the older equipment, and so I would advise teams that they don't need to keep the old equipment for an operational reason. We weren't expecting to go compulsory in the UK. We weren't expecting the global pandemic, and so we weren't really prepared for what about if 1,000 events no longer need their equipment. I think we'll, over time, over the rest of this year, at some point early into next year, we'll liaise with around that with event teams. Most likely, we'll either be able to find a good way for them to be recycled, where teams can drop them off somewhere or post them somewhere or do something with them, or we'll ask them to be sent back. And we'll recycle them. I genuinely don't know the answer. We hadn't expected to do it so quickly. To a level, there are some events, and this is, the number of events this is tiny in comparison to the number of events that would no longer be using the equipment. But for example, our custodial estate events, they're not allowed mobile devices, so they have to use the old equipment.
Yep.
and so there is a level where actually it's useful for us to have a stock of old equipment to provide to custodial events.
Pass it on. Of
I
course,
wouldn't rule
didn't
out,
think about that.
yeah, and I wouldn't rule out us appearing in countries in the world where
Mobile
there
phones
is
aren't
internet
prevalent,
and so on, where we might use that equipment in another country.
Yeah.
So we haven't made those decisions yet.
Hold tight, hold the stock, and fantastic. I mean, I didn't think, of course, that the prison equipment is that's going to go broken. Of course, if you've got some brand new stopwatches you can send out to your local prison park run, then absolutely, I didn't think of that. And of course, like you said, the countries that mobile phones, smartphones aren't quite so prevalent, and so that's a great idea. And like with the bibs as well, wasn't it? In terms of people, they didn't want to chuck it away. It was about repurposing, and that was a big thing. And of course, would it be fair to say, if you look back now, the word to say destroy wasn't great, and then we had people who were very it was like destroy, and people were like, hang on a minute, no, we want to recycle. The people of the parkrun community tend to be very conscious of that. And then you had people, I mean, it's fair to say, like Hannah Perrin and others, who were repurposing and making bunting and making teddy bears. And there's great things that could be done, but it's a little harder to do with electronic equipment, isn't it? You can't really repurpose a stopwatch into very much. So
it's really difficult, and I think you're right. The word destroy wasn't the right word to use at the time. I think we also, we exist in a very well-meaning, principled community, and actually, but nevertheless, if a parkrun uses something for 3 years, they use it 150 times and then throw it away. I'm not suggesting we do that, but it's not as bad as it seems. Lots of big events in the world will be used once, and then all of that stuff's thrown away. Yeah,
well, water bottles in every large major city marathon, that still haven't resolved that, and the plastic cup side of things in races, that needs to be resolved.
So actually, when you actually think, how many times has this thing been used? It's not a single-use device.
No,
I'm not justifying it, and absolutely right. But yeah.
Yeah, parkrun definitely can lead the way and show that in terms of repurposing and reusing things. And I think, if the time was all over again with the bibs, I think things definitely would be different. And of course, that's helped you then factor in the fact that these pieces of equipment can be reused elsewhere. Superb. Right. And the last question of this lot from all the ambassadors and event directors. So thank you very much once again to everyone who sent questions in. From Boston, lovely Andrew Welch, event director. Checked out the new virtual volunteer app. Looks great. Any chance of a resource made up printed barcodes and sheet of printable finish tokens, including, or can we use to the questions
including QR code, I think that
including QR code, of course. Sorry, we can use to practice and get the event team up to speed and familiar with how it works. Thanks for all you're doing, by the way. So, of course, is there a resource? And I know the answer to this question regarding barcodes they can practice and the QR codes. Can they get hold of those now?
So you're going to test my parkrun operation knowledge here. I think there is I might not know the answer to this. I think there certainly used to be. I'll tell you why I know there used to be.
Can I ask you a quick question first? Or did you watch my virtual volunteer app video? Because I think you just answered that question.
I can't remember it. I did watch it all very carefully.
Okay. Okay. All right.
I honestly did watch it very carefully, but I can't remember that. I have memory of goldfish, as my children keep reminding me. I know we used to have a set of printable, here's pretend you're practicing thing, because a number of those people on that list used to appear in results somehow. Goodness knows how. Somehow those used to make their way into real parkrun results. And people used to write to me and say, Tom, I'm appearing in Edinburgh parkrun results. I've never been to Scotland. I don't know how that happened. Anyway, so it used to be there. Clearly, we would. I don't want to disrespect the question. It's a great question. It's an important question, and I don't know the answer, which shows it's a sensible question. But absolutely, we would provide those resources for people to practice. Remember, we're months away from starting at the moment, so it's not urgent. Danny, you're going to correct me now with what is actually available.
Well, you're pretty right. I mean, the sheet is there. It's on the wiki, and I don't know if it's linked through, because of course you've got the new website that links all the information, but it's definitely on the wiki. There's a resource, the one that I got, the one that I use for the virtual volunteer app. So the barcodes that are there, the athlete IDs, they are ones that work in the system, but they are not real people. So I believe that they originally used to be, they had a bunch of test barcodes of real people, and that was,
Yes.
of course, hang on a minute, I haven't been to this event, but now they are not real people. So there is a sheet available for event teams on the wiki. They can print out what I use to test the virtual volunteer app too, because my concern was, am I using real people here, that their names are going to appear? And of course I was worried about data protection and everything, but no, there was a sheet out there that's basically full of false athlete ID numbers, which is great to test the virtual volunteer app with. So yeah, you're pretty right, Tom, spot on. Yeah. And then the QR codes, of course, you can access them from the WebFMS, I think. I believe. Yeah, you can go on there, you can get it. I know I can get my one now for Surbiton Juniors. You can go on there, print it out, and again, you can test it and practice it. So everything's available as a resource to test while we wait to come back. So yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
If you go to volunteer.parkrun.com, most of it's there. I don't know if there's practice barcodes on there. I can't see reading it now, but everything should be there. And then and people can drop some.
It can be found. Yeah, it can be found. It's discoverable. The resource is there. Absolutely. Right. Super. And that's it. We have gone through all the questions that the ambassadors wanted us to go through and touch upon. And wow, I mean, some of them were tough and they're tricky, and thank you for addressing them as clearly as you possibly could do and being open and transparent, because I mean, some of these questions I'm thinking, but thank you. I read them and I think, wow. I mean, other times some people may have avoided them, but thank you for addressing them. So we want to finish off in a very positive fashion. So earlier this week, at the time of recording, I did a thing where I recognized a lot of people, the moods generally was a bit down. And as parkrun is a effervescent thing, it's about building things and growing things. So at the moment, our community is basically separated. And I wanted to know how people were feeling. I wanted to gauge and touch upon the general mood of society. And there was that dip. People are feeling very down. And people are feeling deflated with how it is currently. But you then, I said that on Twitter, and you then shared my tweet, and the phrase that you used was, you expressed how you felt, and many people agreed with you, it resonated. And the sentence that I wanted to pick out from that was that you were determined to be a part of the solution. And that's the thing that was the kicker, that was the key, that was the positive ending. So what would you say to the people that are watching now as to what are the positives to be taken and how to remain positive until we do return once more months down the line?
I know. Thank you, Danny. And it's. I like to think of myself as a positive person, and we are definitely in a time right now where it's difficult to be positive, and it's. I don't want to get people down, and I don't want to be morose, and I don't want to be sad about it. And previous generations have faced far worse challenges in their lives in many ways. This is a really difficult time, and it is really difficult right now to be optimistic. I have a natural disposition of, it'll be right, it's going to be fine, it's going to be really good, this is going to happen, and we're going to fix it like this, and it's going to be fine. And actually, I think many people, myself included, find it really hard at this point in time in the UK to see how that's going to be, and that is really, really difficult. And I think you'd asked, how do you feel? How do people feel? And I said, I feel frustrated and claustrophobic and cross and angry and sad at many things that are happening and disappointed and all those things. But overwhelmingly, I want to be part of the solution. And I know people people listening want to be part of the solution. Mm-hmm. And this is a Parkrun UK Q&A and a talk. And I'm absolutely convinced as I can possibly be, that we will come back. And when we do come back, we Parkrun we'll have a role to play as an incredibly important part of the solution. As society has been divided, people have lost livelihoods, people have lost fitness, and they've lost positive routines, and they've lost community, and they've lost all these things. And we can provide so much of that. And I think, it's not the time now, unfortunately. Things aren't going in the right direction completely right now. I don't think they're as bad as a lot of people make out. And I think if you really pay attention to the evidence, things aren't good, but we're not seeing at the moment what we saw in the spring. And I think we will get through this. The country will get through it. And all we can do is, to people who are constantly writing to me saying, what can I do? How can I make a difference? How can I make things better? How can I get some light at the end of the tunnel? And whilst I can't sit here now and say, right, on January there's something, we're coming back, or on April this is going to happen, or there are just no certainties. We are going to come back. It'll stick with it. Keep believing. Keep as positive as you can, and know that when the time comes, when that opportunity arises, we will be ready to seize that opportunity. I hope we're going to create the opportunity, I think, as well, hopefully, before, and then seize it.
Yeah.
But we will create that opportunity. We will be ready as an organisation, as a charity, as a movement. And at that time, we will have the parkrun community will have so much to give in terms of bringing people back together, bringing communities back together, getting people healthier and happier, and never will we have had a more positive role to play in society. Unfortunately, to an extent, we have to sit on our hands and wait for that time to come. We're doing our best at HQ, loads of volunteers doing their best. We are trying to influence when that opportunity is. We will take that opportunity as soon as we possibly can. And when that opportunity comes, we will all have that role to play.
Yeah. At a time of disconnect, we're waiting to reconnect, and parkrun will be a staple part of that.
And we will.
And that's why it filled a hole. It filled a hole on Saturday morning, and people have, as you mentioned there, that people have lost many things. They've lost loved ones, and they would go to parkrun. I have many stories of people having lost loved ones, and they would be able to go to parkrun on Saturday morning and feel reconnected and have that positive force of life around them, and be able to provide that once again. It's key, core, and essential. And I absolutely echo everything.
And it will come back as it was.
Yeah.
And I'm adamant that's going to be the case. And of course, there's some changes in the framework, but you're very familiar with it. They're not drastic changes. We're not going to come back as some virtual, sterile, volunteer-free, online,
chip time, automated.
Yeah. Yes, we are going to come back as parkrun, in parkrun style. It'll be sooner, I hope, than people think.
Yeah.
And we'll be back in the parks and open spaces and back together.
Yeah, and historically, bad times have always been followed by great things. And so, of course, the Renaissance came out from the Black Death. Is that right? Oh, something story's going to tell me off. But the Renaissance came around not long after that. The NHS came out after World War II. And so whenever there's been major crises in human lives, once we've got through it, there's always been great things that have come out from that. Human nature has managed to make sure that those things haven't happened again. And so we learn and we build.
Well, I think if you were, I'm nearly 50, I'm 46 or 47, however old I am. But if you were 50 and celebrating England winning the World Cup in 1966, you had lived through the Spanish flu and both world wars. Yeah. And you were sat there in the swinging 60s, having the time of your life, watching England win the World Cup.
Yeah.
So, things can turn around quite quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Here we go. Here's the 2030 in all the swinging 30s. It's really weird to say other decades around the wrong way now. Anyway, brilliant. Thank you very much indeed for your time now, Tom. That's been great. I think this has been a valuable resource. So I'm going to say thank you for watching. And I'm going to have a nice way of bringing this out. I'm going to drop us out and then just have a few seconds on the screen, and then we can end it. And there's our 4-part Q&A series done. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great evening. Thank you for watching, everybody. Take care. Love to you all. Ta-ra.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.